Our group's topic is the top 10. The topic is the concentrator and concentrifugal force. Next. This is all the contests. The first one is introduce the Combing contest. Is Jason to introduce. The second is Jinru Gu introduce the centripetal and centrifugal force general information. The second is Jiamin Zhang is introduce the centripetal and centrifugal force explain. Conclusion is Jiamin Zhang introduce. Next. This is content is introduce the content of the comics. This comics is talk about the Mr. Brown being tied to do the centrifuge, and then the other person control the centrifuge. This person is think the centrifuge is start. You was the centrifugal force, then catch the Mr. Brown. Because he believed that Mr. Brown was not moving the related to the centrifuge. Mr. Brown delayed existence of the centrifugal force. He believed that there was the centripetal force because Mr. Brown framed the centrifugal force made to the centrifuge do the circle motions. This presentation is discuss whether centrifugal force exists and to the analyze and calculate centripetal and the centrifugal force. The next part is Jinru Gu. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jia Chen. Centripetal force is a real force that counteracts the centrifugal force and prevents the object from flying out, keeping it moving instead with a uniform speed along a circle path. Next page. Centrifugal force describes the tendency of an object following a craft path to fly outwards, away from the center of the craft. It's not real force. It's a result from inertia, the tendency of the object to resist any change in its state of rest or motion. The major example of centripetal force is the real coaster and the rotation of the satellite around a planet. And the next part, Jiaming will introduce incursion.
Thank you, Jingru. And now, how do we find the centripetal force? So to find the centripetal force, we can apply this rotation system to a coordinate system. Sorry, where the center of this circle is 0, 0, and the radius of this circle is r, and then we can have the function of theta, which is the angle traveled, and the function of p, which is the position of this object, and represented in x and y, and the function of v is the velocity of the object, and then function a represents the acceleration. So we can write down the position function p by simply applying cosine and sine to the radius r and the angle theta, and then by differentiating the position function, we can get the velocity function, and then we differentiate the velocity function again, we can get the acceleration function. So we can find that there's a part of the function of the acceleration function is the same as the position function. By using this relationship, we can get the general function of the centripetal force acceleration, which is velocity squared divided by r. And then by simply applying the Newton's second law, we can get the general function of centripetal force, which is the weight times velocity squared divided by r. And then for centrifugal force, does it really exist? Well, we can figure out this problem by assuming centrifugal force exists or centrifugal force does not exist. So if the centrifugal force exists, we can see from this picture, the centrifugal force is the right line, F1, and the centripetal force is the blue force, F2, and the F3 is just the force that drives this object to move. And then if we add these three forces together, we eventually get only force 3 left, which will move this object out from this circle, and it does not make sense. But if we assume that a centrifugal force does not exist, we have only the centripetal force, F2, and the force that drives this object to move, F3. By adding these two forces together, we have this ping force. And if you imagine this object is having this ping force all the time along its circular movement, it acts exactly as what we expected. It moves in a circular motion along this circle. So from here, we prove that centrifugal force does not really exist in the world of physics. But why do we have this feeling of centrifugal force? Well, you can see that in general, the in the circular movements, the forces are sort of pointing out from this circle, but it's not really pointing out from the circle in a straight line. So the reason why we have this feeling of centrifugal force is actually because of the inertia. So centrifugal force is actually a pseudo force, it's not a real force. So that's our conclusion. So centripetal force can be proved, and its general function is weight times velocity squared divided by r, radius of the circle. And the centrifugal force is a pseudo force. It's more about a feeling rather than a real force that can be explained in the physics world. And as for our topic, comics, Mr. Bond will be fine. He will not be killed by the machine. So that's our conclusion. Thank you for listening, and that's our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Well done. Has anybody got any comments or comments they would like, please? Anybody?
Yes, any question?
Okay, all right. That's okay. So that's the thing. We're going to keep moving along then. Well done. And I think we've got what's next.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Okay, so we've got just keeping a bit of an eye on the run sheet. So I think we've got we've had that one. So I think it's Anil. We've done that. Nicholas. So Anil Gates. Anil Gates, you're up next. Dylan, Tina, Raymond, Abinith, Adrian. Are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Off you go.